So, Hugh, what made you want to be part of this origin story of?
The first thing that attracted me was Joe Wright, because I think he's just one of the great filmmakers out there. I think he's bold and brave, and he's eccentric and a little nutty, and he's the perfect person to take on an 11-year-old's imagination, which is what Neverland is. You know, the product of that child within all of us just before we decide to become cool, you know. So that, and it's also great to play the villain and great to be in a movie where everyone can go. Like my kids can go, my parents can go, and all enjoy it.
So did Joe kind of share that vision with you of what he was going to be going for?
Yeah, he was very touching actually when we first met, the reason he wanted to make that movie. And, you know, he's never done a movie like this, a family movie, and he wanted to make something from that perspective of the 11-year-old kid. And when I saw the film, I immediately rang him and I said, Joe, the best compliment I can give you is I felt like I was an 11-year-old kid watching it, which is sort of what J.M. Barrie in the original book was on about. That the world actually is magical, if we want it to be. Wondrous, open-ended, full of adventure and challenges, of course, but it's full of intrigue and wonder, and every day can be different if you see it that way and don't lose it, you know?
And I can't imagine playing this Blackbeard. We've never seen anything like him before. So did you really, when you finally got into everything, it's just amazing.
Well, when I walked out each day from the hair and makeup trailer and then my own trailer, which had the costume and 2 people in there to help me get dressed, because there was a lot going on under there, I felt completely like him. Like, I don't think I've ever had that feeling so conclusively just from costume, hair, and makeup. Every day I said to Joe, you're doing 80% of the work for me. It was so kind of grand and over the top and almost foppish. And I love the idea of this guy who was ruthless and would beat anybody in a fight, but also fancied himself as this kind of upper class sort of fop in a way. You know, loved the sound of his voice, loved making long pontificating speeches, and just loves himself. He's easy to play.
He's the scariest kind because he'll put a little humor in there and you
Right.
think, oh, maybe he's, oh no, then it comes back.
Yeah, I'm glad you got that. But Joe and I talked about what the most frightening thing is for kids, and we thought it was the kind of adult that changes on a dime. You know, that if someone's going to yell and scream at you all the time, they end up sort of becoming buffoonish and funny. They may be scary, but you know what you're dealing with. When you don't have any idea what you're dealing with, that's what's unnerving.
I actually thought of Joe Pesci in Goodfellas.
Right, yeah, no.
It just turns like that.
Trust me, that crossed my mind a little bit.
So why is Peter afraid of Blackbeard? What's happening there?
Blackbeard is described as the original nightmare, the pirate that all pirates fear. And he knows that Blackbeard has got a special interest in him. He's been told that on his way up. So he knows there's something about him that Blackbeard is either frightened of or he wants something from him, and he has absolutely no idea why. He thinks he just wants to be kind of left alone, to be another kid. He doesn't want to stand out. He doesn't understand why he's getting this attention, but he knows that he's in danger, that he's been spotted and that he's being watched.
And, on top of these great characters, we're totally engulfed in this atmosphere and this beautiful world that was created. Can you tell us about the studios that all this was created in?
You know, I've worked on a lot of big films, and they seem to me to be becoming more and more filled with green screen and things like that, which is fine, I get it. It was so nice to walk onto a set that honestly took my breath away. I mean, Neverland itself, which had real plants in it, and greenskeepers everywhere trying to maintain it and build it, and it was the size of a football field. I mean, it was absolutely extraordinary. And the village and the pirate ships, huge pirate ships on gimbals that could move. It was like a theme park ride, you know. And it was absolutely, for me, something that I've never seen before, may never see again. And it really, really helps. It helps the actors, it helps the crew, it helps everyone understand the world we're in.
Enough to get lost in, right? I heard you got a little lost one day.
You know, when I was doing my camera test, so the first day you have costume on, hair and makeup, and I came out, and I'm walking and clanking around with my breastplate, and I said, let's go find Joe. Oh, they said, no, I'll bring Joe to you. And I said, no, I want to go and see him. I want to see the set and everything. So I went out, and it took us 15 minutes to find him. Honestly, there were 4 ADs who were searching around for him, and he was setting up a shot somewhere, and he was under a mushroom somewhere, and no one could find him. That's how big it was. Not that kind of mushroom. I don't think.
So important to get the right kid because sometimes it can go terribly wrong. So tell us about Levi working with him.
I think filmmaking is just a massive amount of leaps of faith. You take a leap of faith in the scripts, in the sets, in the world you're creating, that it's all going to come together, and in the casting. And when you're creating a movie called Pan, it's about this little kid called Peter. It's the center of the movie. And Joe decided, and the studio decided, to do a search like they did with Harry Potter. So I think 4,000 kids put down a tape. And luckily for Joe, he said it was hard work. It was hard. He was umming and ahhing this one, then bang, Levi came on the screen. He said it was just easy. And I understand why, because when I was on set with him, it was just natural to him. He has absolutely no idea how good he is. I remember looking at the camera operator like, how good is this kid? And he goes, shh, don't say anything. It's just, he was in a playground having the time of his life. And the whole world is about to fall in love with him.
Yes. And just last question. What do you think makes it such an enduring story, Peter Pan?
First of all, I think Peter Pan is one of the just great adventure stories. It's, in Australia, we'd call it a great yarn. It's a great story. You could tell it by a campfire, you can tell it by the bedside, you can tell it on stage, in a cartoon, wherever you tell it. It's great characters with a lot of fun and a lot of action, a lot of intrigue and danger and suspense. It really is the ultimate playground for the mind of kids. But as an adult, it is so smart and speaks directly to the adult. It's a reminder. It's like, don't lose the kid within you. You're not too clever. You don't have it all down. See the world as though it's Neverland. See the world as kids see it, full of possibility and adventure and hope and magic and wonder, because it is. We somehow, somewhere along the way, we forget that. We start worrying about what people think of us, and are we cool, are we not? And Barry's saying, forget all that. Be like the innocent 11-year-old, and that's how to stay young.